Okay, Storm families, welcome to the broadcast, our final game for this U.S. Hockey Central Districts. This is the third game that we've played this weekend. Game one was a 6-0 loss to Western Wisconsin, a select team. Game two, a 4-0 loss to the Warhawks out of Northern Illinois, northern suburbs of Chicago, and now we are playing our cross-state Missouri rival, I guess, or cross-state opponent, the St. Louis Cyclones. It's the first time that our two teams have met up this season. We are without Cheryl, who was dismissed from a game yesterday, so we're 1D short of the bench that we started with the tournament. Out front, we've got Tees, Wood, Ross. Back behind, we've got Larson and Chucky. Storm takes it into our zone, and Brooklyn puts first shot on goal, caught by the Cyclones goalie. Same crew. Puck drop left of goalie, back to Larson. Larson swings, goes above the net. Chucky keeps it into the blue line. Cyclones bring it out. Sorry, going along the wall. Can't really see what's going on down there. Cyclones take it down into our defensive zone. Tees down into the corner. Pops it back up the wall. Ross and Tees working along the wall. Cyclones trying to keep it in. Tees pops it out to Ross. Ross takes it into the neutral zone. Cyclones take it away, but a lot of back and forth at half ice. Cyclones take it back across. Chucky Cowan comes in. Swing. Pops up over Genevieve. Talbert, who's back in net. Cyclones skate it back behind, get it out to their player coming off the bench. Lucy's out there now. Lucy pops it away. Cowan pops it away. Chucky chases it down behind the net. Cyclones bring it back out. Keep it low. Shot goes behind the net. Lucy goes to collect it. Pop brings it up along the wall. Passes to Layton. Picked off by St. Louis. Cowan takes it. Pops it up to Wright. Wright sends it further up. Intercepted by Cyclones, but Lucy takes it away. Down the corner, Layton, Lucy. Puck comes out. Cross ice pass by the Cyclones down into the corner where Chucky pursues. Puck across the ice over into the opposite corner. Lucy's there. Cowan comes in. Activity in the corners. St. Louis tries setting up a pass. Goes wide. Wright takes it across neutral. Sends it down low. Goalie gonna cover it up. New folks coming out. Sorry, Miss Bruner had come out during that shift as someone else. My bad. Tees, Bradshaw, Monahan, Bushhouse, and Smith. Smith right at the blue line, can't keep it in, but she pushes it back into our offensive ice after everyone's cleared. Bradshaw giving fits in neutral ice. St. Louis shot is covered up by Genevieve. 13:27 left to go in the first period. Officially 4:40 p.m. We'll have drop to Genevieve's right in our defensive ice. Again, Tees, Bradshaw, and Monahan with Bushhouse and Smith. Smith into the corner, pushes it up. Cut off by Cyclones. Monahan going into the opposite corner, pushes it up the wall. Activity along the wall, sorry. Smith gonna track it down behind the net to the opposite corner. Bradshaw there. Bradshaw shoves through some people, comes out with the puck, sends it up to a tease, goes past her, but goes back into our offensive ice, and it's gonna be icing. So we'll go back to our opposite side. Larson, Chucky come back out with Wood, Ross, and Layton. Again, 12:59 to go. Puck drop right of Genevieve's shoulder on our defensive ice. Layton pushes it over to the corner. Cyclones backhand to Larson. Larson cuts across our defensive ice, goes across the neutral zone. Takes a shot that goes left of. Puck bounces out. Chucky there sends it in. Larson deflects back out. Wood's there. Wood trying to send it, picked off by Cyclones. Cyclones out into neutral where Layton's playing D. Sends it back to Larson. Larson flicks it back. Goes into our defensive ice. Chucky there to push it away from into the corners. Larson into opposite corner to track it down. Up along the wall. Ross and Layton in neutral. Puck back to St. Louis. Defensive changeover. Genevieve with a stop. Puck just got kicked in by St. Louis. Ref says no call. $12:09 left to go.
It can go off the skater. If you deflect it off the skate, it's fine. You just can't hit it.
So we will have drop out in neutral ice. Cowan and Bruner. Bruner tracks it back down into our defensive ice. Trying to send it up the wall. Cut off by St. Louis. Bruner back again into the corner. Sends it back up. This time Wright is able to get her stick on it, but gets taken away. Tease fights through. Tease continues to fight through. Addie's got a little bit of free ice. Gets poked back from behind. Cowan has to take it out. Puck crosses Bruner. Bruner in neutral. Sends it back up to Wright. Wright can't handle it. Back into neutral ice. Right at the blue line. Puck sits there for a few milliseconds. St. Louis off the walls to Cowan. Cowan in neutral ice. Cowan off the wall. Sends it back down into our offensive zone. Cowan follows. Comes back out. Let's Addie tease, pops that one away. Sorry, I got lost in the activity. In my Cunningham in, sorry. Tease along the wall, sends it back up. Pup flying everywhere. Shot on goal, it goes left. Genevieve pops it away anyway. Down in the corner, tease, skates behind the net, sends it out to a waiting Cunningham. Cunningham tries to get it across to Van Bergen, who was open in neutral ice. Puck eventually gets to Lucy. Lucy gets dragged down. St. Louis sends it back. We've got Layton cutting across the neutral, sends it down low, follows. St. Louis sends it behind, where Cunningham was waiting, but St. Louis picks it up. Bushhouse Smith in. St. Louis takes it across. Bushhouse there, pushes the puck. Genevieve going to cover it up after it bounces back from the wall. Gives it to a waiting Bushhouse. Bushhouse tries to send it, but her stick got popped. St. Louis brings it around, pursued by Bushhouse. St. Louis, some passing. St. Louis into the corner. I think Layton. Nope, Monahan, sorry. Nope, Layton. Sends it out. Layton again in neutral ice, doing what she can to take control of the puck. Smith pops it out twice. Back into our defensive ice where Bushhouse swings at it. Smith bounded into the corners, working on it. St. Louis pushes it back up to their blue line where they send it right back down low into the corner. Puck goes all around the yellow tape. St. Louis picks it up. Smith gets in somebody's way, which slows everything down. Backhand by Bushhouse, picked off by St. Louis. Tees and Ross coming off the bench. Tees picks it up. Tees goes on a 2-on-1. Skates around from folks. Can't get her shot off. St. Louis takes it back across neutral, where we've got Chucky and Larson. St. Louis sends it down low. Chucky pursues. Tees coming in to help her. Chucky backhands to Ross. Ross along the walls, can't see what's going on. She must be stuck up with a couple of St. Louis kids. St. Louis flings it to the net, knocked away by Genevieve. Larson lost the puck in a jump. Puck out in neutral ice. St. Louis sends it back down low. Chucky gonna get this one again. Takes it behind the net. Changeover by St. Louis. Chucky's pass picked off. Larson picks it back up. Larson swings, misses. Larson and St. Louis down to the corner. St. Louis comes away with it. Tees is immediately there. Puck left behind while they skate on. St. Louis out to their D. D takes a swing. Deflected by their own man over into the corner. St. Louis and Chucky pursue. Chucky's on her knees down in the corner trying to get it. Tees has a St. Louis player on the glass. Another St. Louis girl coming in.
You tell him, ref.
Ross coming in, pushing along the puck. Puck out. St. Louis takes it out into blue line, where Wood knocks it over into our offensive. Zoe takes it down. Pursues behind us. It's taken away by St. Louis. St. Louis comes back out across their defensive ice and a neutral ice pass. Cowan and Bruner were there. Shot by St. Louis from the blue line. Cowan sends it out to a waiting right. Right takes it across neutral, bangs it off the wall, gets it herself, flings it into our offensive ice, where Layton tracks it down into the corner. St. Louis puts her on the glass. Right coming in to help her out. So we've got a 2-on-2 on the glass again. Stick moving. Puck comes out. Lucy and St. Louis going over into the opposite corner. St. Louis passes out, goes into neutral ice, where Layton picks it up, pushes it back into our offensive. Cowan across neutral, sends it to a waiting right. We're in the corner. Change over by St. Louis, allowed that pass to be picked off. Somebody is going to the bench for St. Louis. No one's fussing up to it. Okay, 16 going in St. Louis. So we've got 6:28 to go in the first period, and Storm goes on the power play. We've got Caitlin and Lucy with Addie, Gabby, and Avery. Tees back to Cowan. Cowan back over to Avery. Puck gets picked off. St. Louis shot goes north of the goal. Lucy grabs it along the line, the wall, passes it across ice to Caitlin. Caitlin passes it to St. Louis. Dang it. St. Louis takes it across neutral, flings it down low. Avery gonna pick up. Oh, Avery missed the puck. Avery picks up the puck, skates it across the ice, sends it up to a waiting Van Bergen. Van Bergen tries to get it to Tees. Tees pops it away. Tees takes a swing. Puck popped up high into the corner where right was. St. Louis takes the puck back out. 45 left to go on the power play. Cowan can't get it around St. Louis. St. Louis swing deflected by Genevieve. Back out the blue line. Ross picks it up. Layton collides with a player in neutral ice. Ross and Layton working on the puck. Larson sends it up to Cunningham. Cunningham and Avery, I think, got switched up, and so the puck goes wide. Puck behind the defensive net. Larson The body stops the puck. Puck cut off by Cunningham in neutral ice. Back to Larson. Larson up to Ross. Ross across neutral, sends it down low. Shot on goal is deflected out by St. Louis. St. Louis gets possession, sends it back up the boards to their gal. St. Louis across neutral. Smith there pushes down into the corner. Puck goes behind the net. Smith continues to follow. Leighton attacks. Chucky out to Cunningham. Cunningham sends it off. Somebody skates down into our offensive ice, picked up by St. Louis, pursued by Leighton. We got a changeover of all personnel except for Leighton. Puck out into neutral. St. Louis takes it across. You got Cowan and Bruner out there. Cowan pushes it over into the wall. Monahan comes out. Tease comes out. Cowan flicks it up. Genevieve deflects it. Tease into the corner. Bruner picks it off. Cowan sends it back out into neutral ice. St. Louis picks it up. St. Louis sends it across neutral. Takes it into our offensive zone. Shot from the blue line. Goes left of the goal. Bruner sends it over into the corner where you've got Wood to Tease. Tease sends it all the way down the ice for icing. All new personnel coming out with, oh, nope, Tease staying out there. Wright and, oh gosh, sorry. Wright and Van Bergen with Tease up front. Smith and Bushhouse on blue. Smith back into the corner. Smith to Wright. Wright to Smith. Comes back out to St. Louis, pushes it back down. Avery pursues into the corner. St. Louis comes away with it, pushes it behind the net. They pursue. Smith gets there first. Wright picks it up, tries to get it out to Addie. Play picked off. Genevieve with the deflection goes out to Avery. Avery up to Van Bergen. Van Bergen along the left wall. Pushes it into our offensive ice, pursued by Wright down low. All the way around the yellow line. Smith there. Puck goes around her. Avery's going to pick up this puck. Sends it off the walls hard to Van Bergen. Van Bergen, we've got a 3-on-3 situation. Van Bergen to Leighton, just in front of her. Leighton can't pick it up. Leighton backhands to Van Bergen. Van Bergen skates around right. Van Bergen daintily puts one on net, deflected by the goalie. Leighton and Wright or Van Bergen in the corner. Avery tries to send it, deflected off a bunch of skates. Right there. Wright sends it down low again, deflected by the goalie. Leighton pursues the puck. St. Louis skates it out. St. Louis with a shot is collected and caught by Genevieve. Bradshaw out there now with Leighton and Cunningham, Larson and Chucky. St. Louis takes behind our net. They lose the puck for a second. Pursued the entire way by Leighton. Chucky picks up the puck behind the net, taken away by St. Louis. St. Louis brings it out. Chucky giving fits. St. Louis puts shot. Genevieve easily stops that one with her body. So we'll have drop left of Genevieve, I believe. Cowan Bruner out with Cunningham, Bradshaw, and Leighton. Puck down in the corner. Gabby and two St. Louis girls. Leighton comes in to poke it away. Leighton gets the puck. Skates, tries to get it out to Bradshaw. Bradshaw along the ice, tries to kick it to herself. Gets tripped. We'll be on the power play again.
Oh!
1:19 left to go, sorry. Storm on the power play. We've got Van Bergen right and tees with Cowan and Bushhouse. Tees over to Van Bergen. St. Louis takes away, shoots it at their own glass. Gabby comes down, pushes it. Puck comes out to Avery at center ice. Avery across ice to Tees in the center. Or I think she was actually going for right, but Tees got it off. Addie to Van Bergen. Van Bergen. Tees takes a shot just left of the goal. 55 seconds left to go. Tees along the wall to Cowan. Cowan over to Bushhouse. Bushhouse swings. Dropped by the goalie. St. Louis skates around their net. Bushhouse at the opposite blue line, back to Van Bergen. Van Bergen can't keep the pass. Puck back into neutral. Cowan and Bushhouse back. We've got 40 seconds left to go on the power play. Bushhouse pops it back up the wall to Van Bergen. She's tied up with St. Louis. Bushhouse coming in to help. Puck goes all the way across the ice to right. Cowan in the corner behind the net, pushes it up the glass to awaiting Van Bergen. Van Bergen across ice to Bushhouse, who's open. Bushhouse takes it across, goes left side, pops it across the ice. Gabby was changing out for Larson. And that's the end of the first. No score. We'll have 11 seconds on the power play. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I was going into the crowd. My bad. We are playing 16-minute periods in this one. I'll go ahead and pause, mute. If you're watching at home, you will notice that there are actually 4 referees in this game. Kind of like the NBA, we've got a referee down low, 2 hang out at the blue line, and then the opposite up high. We'll start the second period. Again, Storm's on the power play for 11 seconds. Larson and Chucky out with Leighton, Cunningham, and Ross. Leighton wins this one. St. Louis falls down. Leighton backhands it up the wall to Ross. Ross back to Leighton and some St. Louis people. Chucky gets tied up with somebody. Leighton again backhands. Can't get it across the blue line. Leighton's stronger stick deflected off of St. Louis. Goes down into the corner. Chucky sends it along the yellow tape. Up to awaiting Cunningham, who loses the stick. Loses the puck. Grace, with a powerful stick, takes the puck away, skates it across neutral ice. Grace goes down. Well, no. The defender falls down on Grace. Storm with some changeover. People falling all over the place. Leighton, Ross over in the side. St. Louis sends it across. Larson kicks it. Genevieve flicks it. Lets Larson go get it. Sends it up to awaiting Bradshaw to Leighton. Back to Chucky. Chucky backhands it across into neutral ice. St. Louis sends it back to Chucky. Chucky misses the kick. St. Louis comes in behind her, takes the puck away, goes around the net. Genevieve pops the puck out. Again to Larson. Larson tries to send it out to Bradshaw. Can't get past St. Louis. St. Louis takes it back down along the tape. Bradshaw there knocks the puck away. Back to St. Louis. St. Louis shoots well wide of the net, but collects the puck in the corner. Puck goes in at 14:21. St. Louis goes on the board. New personnel coming out. Tees, Wood, and Monahan with Cowan and Bruner. Again, 14:21 to go in the second. Storm down by 1. Puck into our defensive ice. Tees knocks it away, I think, to Wood. Puck shot. Genevieve covers it up. We'll have a drop right of Genevieve, who's giving instructions for her D. Tees over to Monahan. Monahan tries to push it through, but St. Louis doesn't let it go. Tees knocks somebody down because they aren't strong enough. Bruner pops the puck out. Bruner pursues down into the corner. Monahan there. Tees waiting for the puck to pop out. Gets it, sends it out into neutral ice. Wood pursues it. Wood comes away with it, takes it into our offensive ice. Woods gets tripped. Woods gets hit by the goalie.
That's a good call. Good call, ref. Good call.
And at 13:45, Storm again will go on the power play. Bushhouse and Cowan come out with Wood, Monahan, and Tees. So 13:45 left to go in the second. Storm on a minute 30 power play. Down into the corner. Monahan sends it behind the net. Woods pursues back into the corner. Wood in St. Louis along the wall. Tees comes in. Puck goes high. St. Louis comes out with it. Puck popped away by a bunch of Storm. Gabby takes it back behind the net because it bounces weird. Out to Wood. Wood pushes it out to Tees. Tees out into neutral ice. Tees on a one-on-one. St. Louis knocks it away. Tees goes back to try to get it. St. Louis sends it to Bushhouse. Bushhouse sends it up where we've got Van Bergen and Wright coming in. Referee stops it in neutral. Storm sends it back into our offensive ice. Cowan can't keep it in at the blue line. Cowan across to Bushhouse. Bushhouse with her foot. Bushhouse up to waiting Van Bergen at the blue line. Van Bergen around 1, takes a shot, bounces right to right. Dang it. Out into the corner, Bushhouse at the blue line. Bushhouse flings it. She's a lefty, caught by the goalie. It would have gone in. 12:38 left to go, 24 left on the power play. Right, Van Bergen, Leighton comes out. Bushhouse Larson comes out. 24 left to go on the power play. 12:38, Storm down by 1. Right, out to Larson. Larson flings it. Deflected by the goalie. Van Bergen there. Backhand by Leighton. Doesn't get through. St. Louis back along behind the net, behind the goal line. St. Louis trying to skate it out. Takes it across neutral, popped away by Van Bergen. Van Bergen pops it back to Leighton. Leighton skates it down along the tape, centering pass. Wright wasn't quite there yet. Lucy tracks it back. Larson in neutral, sends it back almost to our blue line. Can't get across. Larson again. Hits Leighton's stick, but Van Bergen there. Van Bergen's got right. Van Bergen goes left. Takes a swing, deflected by the goalie. Van Bergen goes and gets the puck. She and Leighton working on it. Chucky and Larson out there. Larson intercepts, sends it back up where everybody skates past it on St. Louis. Changeover. Chucky Gonna get this roller behind the net, sends it up to Cunningham. Cunningham across to Bradshaw's cut off. Cunningham backhands it up to our blue line. And Genevieve smothers it in front of the net. 11:10 left to go in the second period. Storm down by 1. Cowan, Bruner come out with Cunningham, Bradshaw, and Tease. Tease knocks it back to Bruner. Bruner behind the net, backhands. Has to pursue it down along the goal line. St. Louis knocked it back down. Bruner getting hung out by Cyclones. Cyclones out to their blue line, take a swing, goes left or right of the net. Cowan pursues, hops around Bradshaw to Cunningham. Cunningham out into neutral ice. St. Louis picks it up. Go D to D up to their forward. Tease, ain't letting it go. St. Louis, Cowan sends it out to the blue line. St. Louis sends it back down low. Bradshaw, Cowan, puck goes behind the net. Cowan pursues. Puck still behind the goal line. Tease pursues. Puck comes out. Tease pops it to Bruner. Bruner pops it to Tease. Tease pops it out into neutral ice where it's picked up by St. Louis. St. Louis sends it back to Bruner. She's going to let Cowan pick this one up in the corner. Cowan up along the glass. Bradshaw. Puck back to Cowan, sorry. Cowan out to Cunningham this time. Goes past Cunningham. St. Louis sends it back down. Bruner in the corner. Bruner passes to herself to avoid St. Louis. Sends out to Cunningham. Layton blocks a shot down low. Bruner sends it back out to Bradshaw. St. Louis grabs it. Sends it out to blue line. Nobody can get a hold of the daggum puck. St. Louis goes back. Bruner takes the puck away from St. Louis down into the corner. Cunningham are down fighting for it. Cunningham comes away with it. Sends it across ice. I think she was sending it to Layton, but it was behind her. St. Louis sends it down low. Bruner with a deflection out into the corner. She and Ross. Ross takes it away from St. Louis. Ross kicks it, can't quite get a hold of it. It's underneath her. Everybody falls down except Layton. Layton backhands it out into neutral ice. Ross pursues, but St. Louis pops it around her. St. Louis in neutral ice sends it over to the left. Layton pursues, knocks it around. Bruner cuts off the pass, sends it up to somebody. Wood sends it back down low. Gabby behind this goal. Puck out to St. Louis. Swing and a miss. St. Louis behind the goal. Cowan goes and gets it in this corner. She's got St. Louis on her. Oh, she takes a swing. Can't get it off. Kicks it, sends it back around the other way. Bruner going to get there. Bruner sees Wood. Gets it to Wood. Wood up. Gets it across ice to Layton. Layton pulls it back from behind her. She sends it up to Ross, who wasn't moving forward, so she missed the pass. Down in the corner, puck back to Wood. Wood can't get turned around. Tease out there. Ross to Wood. Woods gets it back around. Woods gets tripped. Backhand to St. Louis, and we've got another tripping call. So 7:56 in the second. Storm will go on the power play again. Bushhouse, Larson, Tease, Wood, Ross. 7:56 to go. Tease back to Bushhouse. Bushhouse sends it down low to Wood. Wood takes a swing, goes behind the net. Grace goes to find it. Grace misses, gets it over to Bushhouse. Bushhouse kicks it out in front of herself over to Tease. Tease misses it. Wood picks it up. Wood back to Bushhouse. Bushhouse has Tease set up right in the center of the ice. Tease calls for it. Tease swings, deflected by St. Louis. Larson a little too far out to backhand it in. Puck goes out cross neutral into our defensive ice. Avery is there. Avery looking for options. Sends it up to a waiting Wood. Bounces around her. St. Louis picks it up again. Genevieve gonna knock this one back as it goes all the way to her. Back to Bush House. Bush House to Wood. Wood up to Tease. St. Louis pushes it down into their own defensive ice. Tease pursues. St. Louis out on neutral ice. Bush House swings. Cowan now in. Cowan deflects down by the score line. Bush House in to pester her. Bush House traps her along the wall. Tease comes out with the puck. Again, we have 14 seconds left to go on this power play. Tease pass to Wood doesn't connect. Cowan picks it up along the yellow, sends it out in neutral. St. Louis again comes in. Tease helps out on defense. Bush House sends it to Van Bergen. Van Bergen has 2 St. Louis girls on her. St. Louis takes it away. Takes around the opposite side. Cowan pursues. Wood picks her up. St. Louis is blue. Takes down low. Genevieve deflects. Bush House sends it hard along the yellow out to a waiting Van Bergen. Van Bergen had to wait on it. Can't get it around St. Louis. St. Louis makes the stop. Tease on the blue line. Popped out to Bush House. Bush House to Wood. We are full strength for some seconds. Wood sends it high along the glass. She's getting out of there. Van Bergen down into the corner. St. Louis picks it up. St. Louis across neutral ice. Goes down low. Bruner in. Bruner going to go into the corner and try to get this one. Gets knocked around. St. Louis trying to make some moves. St. Louis behind their own net. Cowan picks up. Shot is easily caught by Genevieve. 5:20 to go in this one. And again, we're still down 1-0. Cowan, Bruner, Wright, Van Bergen, and Layton. And again, Genevieve in net. Wright sends it across the ice. Cowan picks it up. Cowan sends it hard across neutral into our offensive zone. It's going to die before it gets ice. Nope, picked up by St. Louis. Pursued by Layton. Wright, Van Bergen, backhand by Layton. Deflected by the goalie into the corner. Van Bergen goes to get it. Wright goes to help. Comes out to Layton. Layton takes a swing. Goes left of the goal. Wright pursues. Sends it out into neutral. The referee kind of was there. Cowan sends it across ice. Van Bergen picks it up. Van Bergen in neutral ice. Skates around a bunch of people. She's got someone on her stick. Van Bergen sends it down low. Lets somebody else go get it. Somebody being Caitlin. Tease comes in. Tease catches it, sits it back down. Behind the net, Tease looking for someone to backhand. She sees Larson. Larson can't get it off. Larson to Chucky. Chucky's shot deflected by St. Louis. Shot by St. Louis is deflected by Genevieve. Hauled in and covers up. 3:58 left to go in the second period. This will be puck drop left of Genevieve. Tease, Cunningham, Monahan, Larson, and Chucky. Monahan sends it down behind the goal. Tease pursues. Cunningham coming in to help. St. Louis sends it back the opposite way where Larson comes in to give fits. Puck out into neutral ice, and we've got offsides. 3:42 left to go in the second period.
Miriam, stay aggressive. Stay aggressive.
There has been no music at this event, so it's a little quiet. Larson sends it across ice into neutral, picked up by St. Louis, pursued by Monahan. Monahan keeps pursuing, pushes the puck further into neutral. Tease skates over the puck. St. Louis comes back with it. Larson pushes the puck out. Cunningham goes to get it along the wall. Shot caught by Genevieve. Based on how her head moved, looked like she followed it right into her glove. All new crew coming out. Bushhouse Smith on D with Rosswood and Layton up front. Puck drop right of Genevieve's shoulder. Layton back to Smith. Smith back to Layton. Layton goes over. Shot goes well right. Deflected well wide. Genevieve deflected. Genevieve deflects. Puck out. Ross picks it up. Can't get it past the blue line. Layton coming in. Comes back to Bushhouse. Bushhouse over to Wood. Wood calling for it. Wood on the opposite side. Goes up ice. She's got somebody on her right. Pushes it down low. Behind the net. Zoe's there, but the puck gets popped around her. Puck out to Bushhouse. Bushhouse swings. Shot goes just right. Wide left of the net. Everybody down in the corner. Comes out to St. Louis. St. Louis across to neutral. Pursued by some Storm. Sent down low. Avery has to go behind the net. St. Louis switching out. St. Louis. Avery's got space. Gonna skate it. She's got Zoe up front. Passes to her. Zoe loses the handle. Puck out into neutral. Smith picks it up. Smith sends it down into our offensive zone. Wood and St. Louis pursue into the corner. Ross there. St. Louis across behind their goal. Layton comes out. St. Louis sends it down to neutral ice. Smith picks it up, sends it back into neutral ice. Picked up by Wood. Wood to Ross. Ross. Oh, they had Addie come in and off the bench, and so he got offsides. 1:47 left to go in the second period. And again, these are 16-minute periods. So the girls are huffing and puffing. Referees have some sort of chat. Looking in the corner, no one knows. Tees, right, Van Bergen. Van Bergen sends it down along the wall. Tees there to back her up. Cowan sends it further in. Van Bergen. Tees and Wright send it down into the corner. Tees pursues. Puck goes just past Gabby's reach at blue. Picked up by Bruner. Bruner to Van Bergen. Van Bergen up the wall. Almost picked up by Tees. Cowan pushes it back. Tees pushes it the opposite way. Bruner gonna have to go get it down in the corner. She's pursued by St. Louis. Sends it up to right to Tees. Cross ice. Can't get there to Van Bergen. Van Bergen has to backtrack. Hits it back to right. St. Louis picks it up. St. Louis with space. Sends it into our bench. So we will have puck drop in our offensive zone, right of their goalie. .1 seconds left. Chucky, Larson, Bradshaw, Layton, Cunningham, Monahan. Puck was stuck under Audrey's feet for a bit. Backhand, St. Louis out, pursued by Layton. Puck stopped by Larson. Can't get it to go back into our zone. Chucky along the wall, sends it up to some Storm. The referee's in the way. Bradshaw goes down. St. Louis comes out with it. Everybody's pursuing that puck. Picked off by Bradshaw. Goes back to St. Louis. Chucky knocks it away. Can't keep a hold of it. St. Louis tries to send it. Goes off Audrey's skate down behind our goal. Audrey goes after it. Chucky there. Chucky tries to backhand it but can't get it far enough. Gets tied up with St. Louis. St. Louis out to their defenseman. Takes a swing and miss. Monahan kicks it out to herself into neutral ice, and we'll go into the third period. An 0-1 game. Storm needing to get one. And I'm going to mute it while we are in the period change. Okay, we're starting the third period. Again, Talbert back in goal. Tees, Ross, Wood coming out. Bushhouse and Smith coming out. Storm down by 1. Tees to Wood. Wood to Tees. Tees takes it across neutral. Slings it in early. Deflected by the goalie. Just past the waiting Ross. Out to Bushhouse. Bushhouse in neutral. Across ice to Wood. Wood sends it down. Hits the goalie. Hits the referee, which is perfectly fine. St. Louis pops it along the yellow, and Tees pops it up on the art on the wall. So puck drop in neutral, closer to our goal. Same folks out there. Over to Wood. St. Louis picks up. Tees gives foot. Ross just missed having a clear lane to the goal. Back to Bushhouse. Bushhouse hard. Wood. Ross. Wood goes right. Makes a move. Can't get her stick back to make a shot. Puck back along the yellow. St. Louis pushes it out into neutral ice.
Numbers.
St. Louis takes the shot. Deflected by Genevieve. Puck behind the net. Bushhouse waiting. Smith waiting. St. Louis out into the corner. St. Louis with a shot. Genevieve deflects behind the goal. Smith goes. Bushhouse kicks it over to the corner. Bushhouse picks it up. She's got Ross out front. Ross goes around, pushes around 1, sends it low, deflects it off St. Louis. They have to travel behind their goal to get it. Bushhouse comes in. Puck right out. Right was right available for a goal. No option there. Cowan picks it up in defensive ice. Pushes it. She takes it over to the offensive ice. Goes down low to get it. Travels behind the net. Rides a St. Louis girl till picked up by Wright. Wright out to Leighton at the blue. Leighton pings it down. Van Bergen comes up. Cowan and St. Louis and Bruner. Bruner down into the corner. Bruner with some St. Louis folks and Leighton. Gabby's little sister just earned a free dessert for yelling for her sister. St. Louis and some people. Bruner comes in, pushes the puck away. Cowan pushes the puck away. Cowan along the wall, pushes it up to Van Bergen. Van Bergen tries to find Wright, but cut off by St. Louis. We've got offsides by St. Louis. 13:26 left to go. Again, Storm needs to get one. Puck drop in neutral. We are at the Glenview Community Ice Rink. A couple sheets of ice and a mites rink. We are in the bigger rink right now, and it's got a crappy sight line. Shot by St. Louis, caught by Genevieve. Tees, Cunningham, and Bradshaw with Chucky and Larson. Cunningham pursues out to the blue line. Puck goes back to Chucky. Chucky not letting it go easy. Larson offered skate to Bradshaw. St. Louis picked it off again. Tees pursues the puck. Picked off by Cunningham. Cunningham has Bradshaw up high. Bradshaw has to wait. Cunningham goes right there where Bradshaw is. Bradshaw, Cunningham have trouble moving the puck down. Comes back up. Chucky pokes it away. Chucky trips the girl with her skates, but no call. Out to Leighton. Leighton and Bradshaw. Leighton over to Bradshaw. Bradshaw pops the red bar on the ice, but no goal there. Wood comes flying in, takes the puck away, sends it over across the ice, picked up by St. Louis, pursued by Wood. St. Louis behind the goal line. Larson and St. Louis are caught with stick.
Like what?
St. Louis shot deflected by Genevieve's body. Chucky backhands Ross along the wall. Chucky sends it back, doesn't clear the blue line. Comes out by Ross, who pushes it into our offensive zone. She's got Wood, takes a swing, deflected by the goalie. Centering pass to Wood. Wood right there. St. Louis covers it up. Oh, dang it. 11:38 left to go. That was a good one. We'll have puck drop in our offensive ice. Bushhouse, Smith, Layton, Wood, Ross. Wood into the corner behind the red line. Wood trying as best she can to get the backhand off. St. Louis is swarming her. Layton to Smith. Smith loses the handle. Puck out across neutral. Bushhouse shot caught by Genevieve. 11:11 left to go. Right, Van Bergen coming out with Cowan and Bruner. Addie Tees is our center. Addie checks out to see where everyone's lined up. Puck drop. Tries to send it across to right. Or I'm sorry, Van Bergen. To Bruner. Bruner to right. Can't get it past Van Bergen. Backhands it off into neutral. Right pursues St. Louis with some passes in their defensive ice. St. Louis picks up. Van Bergen not going to let him have it easy in neutral. Tees giving fits. Cowan picks it up along the yellow. Takes it behind the goal line. Sends it out to right. Right to Tees. Tees gets past one. She's got one more to go. She's got Van Bergen across ice. Can't get it to her. Saw her. Lucy going down in the corner. Lucy. St. Louis. Tees pursues St. Louis behind the goal. Right, knocks it with her skates, but can't get a hold of it. Cowan in neutral. Backhands it back to Van Bergen. Van Bergen at the blue line, sends it low. Pursues it. Centering pass to right. Damn it. Just, I couldn't get their stick swung. Layton ties up the puck in our offensive ice. St. Louis passes across into neutral. Van Bergen tries to pick that one off. Layton up to Van Bergen. Van Bergen's got Bradshaw. Bradshaw. Fudge. Cannot get the swing. Puck behind our goal. Out to St. Louis. St. Louis across to neutral. She's got Cowan. Cowan pushes her over to the wall. Layton, Van Bergen. Picked off by Bradshaw. Bradshaw can't get it across ice to Van Bergen. Cowan pursues the puck and pops it from St. Louis. Everybody coming across the ice. Bruner backhands, gets it to Bradshaw. Bradshaw across to Van Bergen. Van Bergen backhands into neutral ice. But she needs a changeover. Layton pursues the puck. Chucky and Larson in. Chucky makes St. Louis make a mistake, and they send it across the opposite way. Larson pursues the puck. Chucky up front. Genevieve deflects. Chucky backhands. St. Louis picks it up. Genevieve deflects. Genevieve deflects. Puck, the referee whistled. Net must have been off. We'll have puck drop left of Genevieve's shoulder. 8:36 left to go in the third. Again, this is still an 0-1 game. Back to Chucky. Chucky along the walls. St. Louis sends it back to her. She pursues. Layton comes in to help. Monahan comes out with it. Monahan sends it out into neutral further. Ross pursues. Layton almost picked it off. We've got offsides on St. Louis. Or, I believe. Yeah. Bushhouse, Smith, Tees, Ross, Wood, Smith. Tries to send it to Ross. Ross turned the wrong way. St. Louis to the blue line. Smith comes in, can't get there. Larson backhands it away. Or, I'm sorry, Tees backhands it away. Tees from her knees. Ross overskates it. Bushhouse deflects. Bushhouse down in the corner. Tees picks it up, takes it behind the net. Sends it along the tape to a waiting Wood. A lot of shoving going on. Behind the net again. Bushhouse stops that one. Smith sends it out further. St. Louis and somebody along the tape. Shot collected by Genevieve. She flicks it to Bushhouse. Bushhouse sends it out to Wood. Can't get the pass. Wood pursues into neutral ice. Smith knocks the puck away. Back to Avery, who about trips. In the corner, Avery's got time. She skates it out. And in neutral, picked up by St. Louis. Backhanded, picked up, almost picked up by Tees. Bushhouse along the wall. Tees loses her stick. Cowan goes and gets this one down in the corner. Cowan behind, sends it out to Wood. St. Louis collapses on Wood. Wood sends it up into neutral ice. It's gonna die. And Ross is gonna pursue St. Louis as they take it behind their net. Gives time for Wright to come in. Cowan takes a shot, deflected by St. Louis. Wright can't get a swing on it. Back out. Back to Cowan in neutral ice. Cowan's got space, sends it down low, picked off by St. Louis. St. Louis back into neutral ice where Van Bergen just came in. She sends it to Wright. Wright sends it into our offensive ice, back into our defensive ice by St. Louis, and it's going to be icing. 6:03 left to go in the third. Layton to Van Bergen. Van Bergen efforts are picked off by St. Louis. St. Louis efforts are messed up by Wright. Puck out in neutral ice, picked up by St. Louis. Bruner, Cowan back. Van Bergen taking swings, jacks everything up. Layton sends it back into neutral ice. Sent further by Van Bergen. St. Louis trying to work it back up. Wright jacks it up. The ref jacks up.
Peyton, go to the net!
Layton takes a swing.
Go to the net!
Bruner takes a swing. Puck behind the net. Bruner down into the corner. Sends it up. Over to Lucy. Lucy's got Caitlin. Tries to make a move, but loses the puck. Bruner, Cowan tees back. Right back. Bruner body deflection behind the net. Cowan to Bruner. St. Louis picked up by Tees. Tees got space. Tees goes left. Tees goes hard left. Tees pushes it down low behind the net. St. Louis picks it up, pursued by Tees and Van Bergen. Try to set it back up. Chucky's there. Comes out in a neutral. Larson pokes it. Chucky, somebody needs to get a hold of the actual possession of the puck. Tees will do it. Sends it out to waiting Cunningham, but there's a pass, or Cunningham pushes it into neutral. St. Louis picks it up. Referee's in the way again. Cunningham. Whoa! Hard pressing. Cunningham and 55. Feeling a little chippy.
Got your soda to the cooler.
Chucky to the wall. Picked off by Cunningham. Cunningham's got space. Sends it up to Bradshaw. Bradshaw swarmed by 2 folks. Leighton comes in. I think it's Leighton. Yep. Bradshaw falls down. Still fighting for it. Chucky pushes it out. Wood wasn't able to get there in time. Larson, Wood jacks up Dreams with her skate. Wood trying to get a hold of the puck, but got caught with somebody else. A bunch of Storm and only one St. Louis girl skates it around. St. Louis takes a swing and misses. Larson, Leighton down into the corner. Larson out to Chucky. Chucky backhands. She's got Bradshaw, but just a few feet in front of her, so not a lot of space to pass it. Puck stopped at our blue line. Madison Smith coming flying in. Puck shot well right of the goal. Wood goes down hard on the wall. Puck down into the corner. Smith pursues. Chucky flicks it. Bradshaw trying to pick that one up on the wall. Sends it out in neutral ice. St. Louis trying to send it back. Smith backhand. Bushhouse coming in. Somebody sends it out into our offensive ice. St. Louis pursues. Wood. Ross picks it up at half ice. Tease picks it up and takes it across into offensive zone. Tease goes left, cuts back right, backhand, deflected. 2:19 left to go. Bushhouse across to Wood. Smith, Tease lost the puck in her skates.
That was Bobby Orwell.
Down into the corner. So he's got it. Bushhouse is trying to get it out. Puck out to Bushhouse. Bushhouse across neutral ice. She goes right. She's a lefty. Pushes it down into the corner. Looking for a backhand to right. Takes a swing. Bangs on the red bar. Ross can't get the pass to awaiting Leighton, who is right in front of the goal. Ross fighting in the corner. Leighton coming in to help out. 1:21 left to go. Girls being told to move. Covered up by St. Louis. Right there. Timeout by Kansas City. 1:12 left to go in the third. Again, we're still down by, it's a 1-0 game. St. Louis has the point, not us.
I can't give you. What? You cannot. The sticklers and the teetotalers and the rule makers have decided how to do it.
So we came in on Friday. Our first game was at 8 a.m. First game of the Central District Tournament. And we are the last game of the Central District Tournament at 4:40 on Sunday. Ironically playing St. Louis. So the two furthest teams away. A lot of parents here are talking about when they're leaving. The St. Louis crowd now talking about when they're leaving. So 1:12 left to go. Tees, Van Bergen, Wright, Bushhouse, and Larson. Again, Genevieve out. In goal still. Larson tries to kick it. St. Louis comes away with it into neutral. Tees, Van Bergen trying to get a hold of the puck. Caitlin Wright skates it across neutral into our offensive zone. She goes right. Reverse backhand out to awaiting Tees. Tees has Bushhouse. Bushhouse can't get. Oh, goes left of the puck. Larson sends it hard on goal, where Van Bergen was waiting to backhand. Deflected by the goalie. 40 seconds left to go.
Oh.
40 seconds left to go. Leighton comes out for a sixth. Tees pushes the puck down low. St. Louis picks it up. St. Louis flings it at our goal, and it's going to be a second goal.
Start with the other now.
'Cause now 30 seconds left to go. St. Louis up by 2. St. Louis backhands in neutral to Larson. Larson flings it back into neutral. Goes to St. Louis. 19 seconds left to go. Cowan going to get this one behind the net. Pushes it up to right along the wall. Pushes it to the blue line. Can't get past the blue line. Tees there trying to shove it with her body. Caitlin's pushing in. 3 seconds left to go. That's the end of Storm's Central District run for 25. It was a good one. This season, I think the team won 6 of the 8 tournaments they were in prior to coming to districts. They also get to hang the MGHL banner gets to change over, even though they weren't part of the final tournament. They did defeat Omaha, who was the only other 14U team. So they will get that. Definitely a good experience. They came and played some really strong physical teams. Something for next year. Definitely a learning experience. We'll see ya.